Here we go.
Okay, thank you. So, seeing as how I have arrived and there's already been a quorum for some time, call the meeting to order. Start by reading the announcement. Pursuant to Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so in the following manner. Join the Zoom meeting at the link noted in the agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, for reasons of economic hardship and despite best efforts, we will post on the Westborough Public Library's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. And this meeting is being recorded. Okay, do we have any members of the public here for the public forum?
I don't think so.
I am not seeing anyone either. Okay, so recap of the meeting with the Advisory Finance Committee. Maureen, perhaps you'd like to give us that recap?
Sure. I think it went pretty well. Mary and I presented the slides that I sent to all of you yesterday. We didn't use any of the backup slides, the supplemental slides, but I feel like it's somewhat of a straightforward request. There were some questions about why can't we didn't we already do a study, and why can't we use pieces of that study for this? So we answered that by explaining that this is a different project, that we didn't study the 1980 edition, and because we intended to tear it down, and that we can't just kind of pick and choose pieces from a previous study and use them to make something for this. We have to kind of do a whole new study. So I think that covered that question. It just pointed out that people are not going to understand the process. So that might be something that we have to amplify a little bit. And I'm open to additional thoughts and ideas on that. They didn't vote on anything that was presented last night, because correct me if I'm wrong, Walter, I don't think they vote on warrant articles until after the warrant is closed. So
no, that's correct. We haven't voted on any, and we won't until at least like a week from Thursday, mainly because things keep shifting and changing, and it's too complicated to revote. So we collect all the information and then vote at the end.
Okay. So, Bill, sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that's kind of the Cliff Notes version.
Okay.
But, yeah.
I have a comment too, but Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Maureen answered it quite well. I think if anything, I suggested to her that we have a backup slide, not part of the whole presentation, that defines, and Eric and LPA can help us with that. But it's a different scope. So, and Walter had a few comments which answered it very well. For the town meeting, I think we should have something there that clicks on and you're able to see people. It's a whole different scope. What we were trying to do is, from the original request from the public, along with what the grant required us to do, and that required a whole new building. Now you're trying to take what the public wants to do and put it into the existing structure, if you will. So, but I think we need the slide because some of the people already are raising a question about it. So a good slide and might be very helpful that we can quickly shut the conversation down. Or no, explain the conversation. Thank you.
Sean?
Yeah, thank you. And I think, and this is more to Walter, I think for the AFC also, historically, they don't typically vote when the proponent's there, right? You sort of kind of after the fact regroup, have your own internal discussion and then vote. Correct? Not until the warrant's closed, but then also, I don't remember us having a lot of votes kind of right after a presentation also.
Yeah, so that certainly allows reflection, people to come up with other questions that they might want to ask or just thought. I don't know that it's a hard and fast rule, but I think some of that is because we don't vote till the end when the presentations are done, and it's hard to do presentations at the same time you're taking all those votes.
Right.
I mean, there's probably going to be an exception for the school building project because they're not going to know the number till the 20th. So they're coming on the 23rd, and that is 2 days before town meeting. So we're going to vote that night on that. Yeah, I don't know if there's a hard and fast rule, but because I've only been there a few years, so, but that's the way it's worked. So anyway, I had a comment. I thought it went very well. I thought the questions that you get from them are probably somewhat indicative. And I'm finding that a lot of people don't, including myself, probably understand municipal building process, because everybody thinks you can just go call a couple people, get a few quotes, throw up some new windows or something, as opposed to, because I spoke with Melanie after the meeting too in more detail about about the whole why you can't just take the old stuff and do the new. And there is a process, and that's why things don't move quickly, but there is a process, and you're starting the process with this. And I don't know if that's fully appreciated, because most people think of it as remodeling their bathroom or something.
Bob?
Sure. I thought you guys did a great job, and you handled all the answers with ease, and you just kind of brought everything back to center. One comment was made, I'm not sure by whom, was, well, why do you need the OPM? And you explained, well, it's laws, since the 2004 Construction Reform Commission, which passed that package, which included the 1.5 threshold for OPMs. They say, well, our other projects didn't have that. And of course they had to have had that. It's state law. So I'm not sure if they told us or asked you, well, can you come back and tell us who it was or whatever, or is that our job? I don't even think it's our.
It was more specifically, they thought that one of the school projects, which was over $1.5 million, did not necessarily have an OPM. I mean, certainly the FAL school did. I mean, that's a huge, but they do a lot of projects that are over $1.5 million. And I'm not sure whether they have, I'm not sure whether so I don't know. I mean, the DPW does things without OPMs, I think too, but maybe where you have the expertise, that's not needed. I don't know. Whether there's expertise on the school staff for part of that they're allowed to or something. Anyway, it wasn't a question for the library.
No,
it was a question of probably ask, it's a question that Amber will hear. And whether or not it's true, I don't know whether they have
since 2005 is part of the Construction Reform Commission law. So it is, but I think there is, it reminds me, there is a provision that if there is expertise on the building committee, they can ask for special permission from the Inspector General to exempt themselves from that piece. So, but in our case, I think we're well served by having an independent OPM.
And Rod did ask for me to send the citation to the law, because he didn't think that was the case. And I know for sure it was, because as I said at the meeting, I did look it up and verify it yesterday afternoon. So I wanted to make sure I had the right number. And I've gone through the procurement classes. I'm a certified procurement officer. So I wouldn't not have an OPM on this project. We just wouldn't.
It was the cities and towns, it was the municipalities that were clamoring for this back in the late 90s and early 2000s. They just didn't want to deal with, they're the ones that actually proposed that, having an independent source of information. So I also have the legislation going back a couple, the 20 years ago, so I can also help you get that if you want, Maureen.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah,
Welcome.
similar to this, to the question that's on the floor, is that when Mary and I met with Steve Budaleri, he had some very good questions, but in the end, we came back and explained to him what it takes to get an architect, the OPM, and a contractor. And I don't think that the public knows that. We might want to have a quick slide, just in a flow diagram, if you will, that shows that we have gone out, we went through the qualifications, then the pricing, et cetera. Just something simple that shows we've done that, and we have, Maureen has said numerous times that we have the okay to continue with them, and that was from our own council, if you will. So a quick slide that proves that and what it takes to do, because some people think you can use any architect or any OPM or whoever you want. So again, between Bob and I, I'm sure we can help you put something together if you want that. It's just a backup, if you will, just to kind of hear the on the town floor.
Sure, that would be excellent.
Sean?
Yeah, thank you, Ed. So it did seem yesterday that a couple of the folks got bogged down a little bit when it came to like mentioning moving walls or rooms or things of that nature. And really, this amount of money we're asking for at this town meeting is only to do an assessment of an assessment of the condition of the building. We're boring holes, looking at it structurally, looking at the internal systems. We're not making any decisions about changes to the library. This is helping us to assess the health of the building. And then to, and it's really, and correct me where I'm wrong here. And it's really, once it's determined sort of how invasive or how complete the repairs need to be or complex the repairs need to be, I think of it a little bit as you bring your car into the shop. I mean, once you remove the engine block, hey, it makes sense to get some other stuff done, right? So it's only really assessing the condition of the building in this piece. And then depending on that, then we think about, hey, if we're getting all this done, then, X, Y, and Z does or doesn't make sense, right? But this step is only an assessment of the condition of the building.
If I could speak to that, assessing the condition of the building and determining the repairs, to my mind, is most of it. But like you said, if we see an opportunity to do reconfigurations, we want to at least look at them.
Well, that's in the design, right? That's not, I'm guessing that's not until the next phase.
We want to look at them enough now to figure out how much it would cost and what the benefits might be. So, like people have been saying, if we want to put up a wall somewhere to create a small study room, how much would that cost? How much would it be worth? And if it's, to use Walter's example, if it costs us $20,000 to do that, it's probably an easy yes. If it costs us $2 million to do that, it's an easy no. And we want to have a good grasp on what those options are, because there are, as Maureen has emphasized, program needs that the library can't meet with the existing structure, and that we would very much like to meet. But we want to do it, and if we want to decide whether it makes sense financially and all that, and we need to do that early. That's part of what the schematic design is for. Eric, you have a comment, I believe.
Thanks, Ed. I think you're mostly right, Sean. The one thing I would mention is that there are, you know, there's a need for toilet rooms, for instance. You only have 2 public toilet rooms in the whole building. So that might be an instance where, you know, you want to add some partitions and you might want to make some physical changes. But for the most part, you're right. The building is not going to change. The footprint's not going to change. We are, in addition to assessing the building, though, we're also, we're going to establish with you the scope of work that you want to move forward with, you know, and come up with an exact and well-defined scope. And if we, you know, we may have some alternates in there so that the costs can be evaluated, and you know, you can defer a decision until down the road. But for, you know, we really want to get a you know, a good scope of work, and then we're also going to go through the cost estimating process again. So we'll get cost estimates. You know, we'll meet with the OPM and reconcile those cost estimates, so we, you know, we have a good number going forward. It's not, you know, not a construction number, but it's it'll be the basis for moving forward.
Thank you.
To further what Sean has said, I've had both from a couple of members of the AFC and some members of one member of the public seen a concern that what we're talking about goes beyond repair and includes some renovation. And I think we should meet that head on by saying we're looking at the primary thing is repair, but you know, if you're taking the engine out of the car, that's the time to, and you want to do things, that's the time. If you're going into the library and you want to make minor improvements, this will be the time. We don't want to, you know, have to do this now and then a year later or 2 years later decide that we have to have an extra room or whatever it might be. We want to think about that kind of thing as part of the schematic design phase when we're talking, you know, it won't cost us much to decide whether to put in a new wall or whatever changes it might be. And we will be bringing up those, as Eric said, those will be, we'll be putting them in as alternates, costed alternates. So we can say, if we want to put in a room, and this is very hypothetical at this point, will be this room and it'll cost this much. If we wanted to renovate the bathrooms in some particular way, it'll be, this is the renovation and this is how much it'll cost, and so on. We want to get that in now so that if we don't want to miss out on a chance to do something when, you know, the crews are all on there and it'll be relatively inexpensive and relatively trouble-free. But we need to know what the cost is going to be so we can make an informed decision.
Just a comment. Eric brought up bathrooms. It's not something I want to say in the town meeting floor, but the last trustees meeting that I went, I was hesitant whether to go or not because of some illness I was dealing with, but I immediately thought of going from the 3rd floor to the basement in order to, and I mean, people aren't thinking if they're up on the 3rd floor or wherever they are going all the way down. If we can say it in a different word without saying Bill and Ann experienced it, but it's real.
I was going to put that on a poster, Bill.
But it's real. I mean, people don't,
yeah. That's 2 flights of stairs or that little elevator are a real obstacle. So
anyway.
Brian.
Yeah, I think I want to just dovetail a little bit into what you were saying, Ed, regarding multiple scopes of work, or if things drag on, is one thing we really haven't talked about, or maybe it should be kind of addressed when you're meeting things head on, is the soft costs that come with multiple projects, and the moving of Maureen and her staff and the collection and relocating of that. Those costs aren't going to change whether it's a new building or a repair or a renovation, because she'll need to relocate during a certain amount of time. And I believe at the original budget, we were over $500,000 for Maureen to be moved out for an extended period of time. So those costs are a big elephant that don't really change whether or not, if it's a minor scope of repair, or whether or not some other, we'll call it programmatic upgrades, are going to happen at the same time. So that's another reason why to really take those on at the same time and not try to stretch it out over an extended period of time.
Maureen, does sort of emphasizing or being clear about repairs versus renovations make sense to you? Is that something that can make it into the?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think we need to. I think there's some suspicion about the library's motives there. I'm sure there's a couple of people in town who might be thinking, oh, they're just trying to get the renovations this way instead of the other way. And we want to, at a minimum, be transparent about how we're doing this and what's involved, so we can put that suspicion to bed. Okay, let's see. Any other comments, or questions from the AFC meeting? Maureen, would you remind us what's next on the agenda?
The next item on the agenda is the town meeting article.
Okay.
Does anybody
So-
have any questions for Eric before he has to duck out?
We also have Christina to answer any questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Take
Thanks,
care.
Eric.
Yeah, I'll put this to Christina in that case. One thing that would be useful, I think, is if you can write something up that's explains, you meaning LPA, what use we could make of the existing surveys. What role those are going to play in the in this phase of in the schematic design for this version.
Okay, I can work with Eric to work on that.
Okay. And that will give us some data to answer questions about what why we have to do
Okay.
it, why we have to pay y'all again.
Understood. We will come up with a narrative.
Okay, great.
So on the town meeting article, last night at the Advisory Finance Committee meeting, I was able to present a different number than the one that we had earlier, which I tossed my sticky note that had that old number on it. But LPAA got us the price to do hazmat testing in the first phase of the project instead of the second phase. So I was able to get that amount added to the original amount that we were requesting. So our total ask now, and I was hoping we could have a vote to approve it, just so we have it like on the record. So the total is $360,459, and it's an increase of $12,500 over the previous number, just to include the hazmat testing in phase one.
Can you put up an image of the current draft of that article, or the
article?
But the town meeting article, just
Sure.
so we can.
Yep. Hang on one sec.
And I'll ask for a motion to approve that. So,
While Maureen is looking for that, I just wanted to let you know, I confirmed that with the town manager, it is a 2/3 vote, even though the verbiage in article in version 8 of the warrant said majority, because it can be a borrow.
And there was one other little tiny change that I wanted to propose to.
Sean, you had your hand up for a sec.
Yeah, I'll check. I mean, right now mentions borrow, right? But typically for something like this, we would use free cash. So I'm surprised.
She went through this with Maureen because her intention is to combine this and the future articles into something. I mean, you're welcome to ask about it at your meeting, but that's
Yeah.
It's written as a borrow. And
I
that was
have,
her intention.
said that I'm going to get in touch with Leah to ask about that. And thinking about it, I think I'm going to contact Christy directly just to ask what the rationale for that is, because I don't really understand it yet. But back to the article which Maureen has shared with us. You can see the number there is 364.59, and it is a appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds. It says simple majority vote, but as Maureen said, we believe it's actually going to be a 2/3 vote. Can we have a motion to approve this article as written?
I have one other change that I'm going to ask her to do is just to take out at the beginning of the article. She just repeated the headline. So it should
Oh, yeah.
start out to see if the town will vote to rate to, et cetera. So I'll just have her
Right.
take that out.
Okay,
Right.
so a motion to approve the article. I don't know if we can approve it or recommend that the trustees approve it or whatever, but
Well, we could recommend the town and the trustees approve it.
okay. So we'll recommend that the town, so we need a motion to recommend that the town and trustees approve the article as amended.
Second,
Did I hear an actual motion? I wasn't, I was asking for.
so move.
So moved. Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. So let's actually have the vote. Maureen,
Amy, yes.
let's see. Al,
Gordon, yes.
Dunbeck, yes.
Bill,
Manane, yes.
Sean,
EO, yes.
Mary,
Johnston, yes.
Bob,
Petroselli, yes.
Ed Baldwin, yes. Anybody else?
Leslie,
I
yes.
Right in the middle of my screen. I'm sorry, Walter.
Hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, Maureen, we've finished that vote. Is there anything else on that article?
Yep.
Okay.
We lost Maureen temporarily.
Okay.
There she is.
She is. Maureen,
Sorry,
anything
I'm
else on
sorry.
that for that article? Sorry. No problem.
No, I think that was it for that.
And I think there's another agenda item.
About minutes.
Oh, minutes. We forgot about minutes.
It's
Thanks,
like,
Walter.
Yes. Have people had a chance to review them? I have not.
Yes.
I'm hearing a lot of, I heard one yes and a lot of silences. Do we want to review them now, or do you want to do the whole batch of them at our next meeting?
I make a motion that we approve the whole batch.
The one
at
you
this-
can't approve is the January 3rd one because it's missing the beginning of the meeting for some reason. So if we can remove, well, fix that and put it in the next batch.
Okay, so I heard her move to approve the entire batch of minutes that Mary distributed to us a day or so ago. You have a second?
I'll second that, Gordon.
Okay, then let's go around through the vote again. Al,
Gordon, yes.
Pete,
Dunbeck, yes.
Bill,
Manane, yes.
Walter,
Leslie, yes.
Sean,
EO, yes.
Mary,
Johnston, yes.
Bob,
Petroselli, yes.
Maureen,
Amy, yes.
Ed Baldwin, yes.
And our other meeting, our other item on the agenda was just any other building related issues.
Any update on our various town meetings and such? Meetings with, public information sessions and so on?
Yes, Mary and I set a date last night. Just pulling up my calendar. There's this session at the senior center on March 7th at 1 p.m. And then March 21st at the library at 7 p.m. We have a press release in progress that should be going out any moment to let people know that those events are coming up. And I'll mention it tomorrow night at the Library Candidates Forum as well. That is going to be recorded and posted online. So, and I'm also, Mary and I have to just finalize the time. We're going to record the presentation at Westborough TV, either Monday or Tuesday of next week. And then we'll get that posted on the library website and shared out. And you guys are welcome to share it through your networks as well.
Question, Maureen, the press release, who does that go to?
It's our normal press release contact list. So it goes to all the local papers. And we usually copy our state elected officials on that, and anybody who would normally put things in newsletters for us. So it's a pretty wide distribution.
Thank you.
Does it go just to check to the town government, to Christie or anyone?
No, not typically, but
Okay.
we can certainly send it to them.
I don't want to flood anybody's inbox with stuff they don't care about, but it might be worth asking whether they want it.
Okay.
Anything else on our various information sessions, Walter?
Yeah, so I'm wondering if, I don't know if anybody in this group can represent the Friends or that type of group, but it would be good to get the grassroots groups who are library supporters engaged about town meeting and coming to support this article. Because I think that's what it takes. You got the 2/3 bar, you're gonna have to have some people there. And we heard a lot from a lot of people after it didn't pass, so I'm hoping that they'll come this time. I don't know the best way to do that. I'm just throwing that out.
I can talk to Julia Rissmiller about that. She's got the mailing list of, it's not everyone who signed the petition because everyone didn't leave their email address, but I can ask her if she could do a blast once we have the press release, if she would send it out to everyone with a reminder about town meeting and please come and please vote.
Do the Friends actually meet either in person or by Zoom or whatever?
Not
One of us
very
could,
often.
not very often. If they're meeting between now and town meeting, we might want to present to them.
I don't think they are because nothing's in the calendar at the moment. And
Okay.
Wendy is the one who usually organizes their meetings, and she's away for most of the month of March. So I don't think they will be.
Okay.
Maureen, if you could find a secretary or somebody, if Wendy's away, and make sure that they're on this announcement, all the members.
Yeah.
And encourage them, ask them, or if it's important to them, the trustees request that all members come to understand the building, because once we met with them before, they seemed to be vague on it, but that was early. But I think the more that, like Walter said, the more that we can, even if we pick up a few out of that, that'd be great.
Yep.
And if they have, I'm not sure they have a way of announcing, well, they do, I guess, for the book sale. So
Yep.
whatever you send, have them send it out that way.
Yep. And with a request to have people share it within their networks
Right.
as well. So, yeah. I have one other item I wanted to bring up, Ed.
Go ahead.
So I wanted to just kind of put this idea out there for a possible change in strategy for the presentation of the article. And I don't know how all of you are feeling about the presentations that we've done in the past, but I've been thinking a lot about the October presentation, the December one, and now this one in March. And I'm wondering if it would be more advantageous to have someone other than me present the article. And the reason I say that is I wonder if, and maybe you can give me a better sense of your connections in the community and people that you've talked to about the project, whether people consciously or unconsciously would see me at the podium or me and Mary at the podium and think, oh, here they are back for more money. And or if they look at me and think, oh, there she is. That's the one who wanted $87 million for the library. Like, I'm not giving her any money. And I want to do what is strategically the right thing for the project. It wouldn't hurt my pride or my feelings if we decide that somebody else should be the one at the podium. I think we'll all plan to be there and seated at the front of the room like we were in December and be ready to hop up and answer questions at the podium. But I don't know how anybody is feeling about that. And I wanted to raise it because if anyone was thinking along these lines, I don't know if anyone would feel comfortable bringing that up. So I just want to put that out there for discussion.
So I see a bunch of hands. Let's start with Bill.
I think, Maureen, you and Mary did an excellent job. I think if I'm not opposed to having somebody, but it would have to be somebody that is a good speaker and kind of knows the ins and outs of what we're trying to accomplish. And as simple as this is just the monies to study it and not the end. I've had 3 questions since even since last night, to be honest with you. So I'm not opposed to it, but again, the both of you, I like the idea of us all being together. And if you had a presenter, certainly the 2 of you would be, soldiers beside them or whatever. But the emphasis of somebody, a good speaker, to put it across, I think has some advantages to it. I really do. Thank you.
Pete?
I had no thought of that before you raised the question, but when you raised it, I did think about the fact that the tone we want to set, I think, is of a very practical, technical, this is an engineering problem, this is a construction problem, and not a library services problem, where the previous message was, we need to expand library services, we're not meeting the need. So it's a different message which comes out best from you, where the building expertise tone, I think, might be somebody else. And I'm not volunteering, and I don't want to be, it's like not me, but that thought popped to my head. And so I think it's nice, courageous of you, frankly, to raise this point. But I do wonder if a person with building trades expertise and stuff would carry a different tone in the meeting. That's my reaction.
Walter?
So interestingly, that thought did cross my mind when you guys started talking last night, that will this be viewed as, another kick at the can or whatever. But the way you guys started, where you started by talking about having heard the message from town meeting that, they didn't want this, they want you to do that. In that sense, I thought that was more powerful because it was you two saying that, that you understood that. So I think that sort of counteracts that. But I don't know. You guys are really good at presenting. So Pete's suggestion is good, but I don't know who would who would present if you weren't. So, but anyway, I did have that thought, but I don't think it was a problem for the people in our room anyway.
Mary?
Yeah, I also wanted to say I had similar thoughts with Maureen leading up to this. Like, is it going to be seen as like, oh, here they come again? And would it give the public perception that they really are taking a fresh approach? This is a different view of it. So I also would not be offended if you decided that's the direction to go in at all. But I just want the best presentation out there for our committee.
John?
Well, Maureen and Mary, thank you both very much. One, I think you have both done a terrific job. I think it does make sense for you both to present. Again, you've been the face of the project. I think it would be a little disingenuous on our part if you suddenly weren't up there. Although I do think what Pete and Walter says makes a little sense, like perhaps, and I'm going to throw out a person under the bus here, but perhaps Bob could, like, you make your initial presentation, and then maybe Bob joins you, and Bob, you know, has obviously a lot of knows the building process and everything inside and out, and, you know, here, and I think to Pete's point, it's an engineering project. We need to do a physical assessment of the building to determine, you know, costs and come back to you with things. And then by, you know, in theory, as another individual who's kind of making it look like it's not the same project as it was before, because you've got another individual helping you address it. I don't know, but I do think that Maureen and Mary both have done a terrific job, and I think it makes sense for you to do the presentation.
Bill?
And you did a terrific job last night.
Sorry. Bill?
Yeah, I still think that, like we were all saying, that Mary and Maureen did a great job. Maybe there's a hybrid, like they give the presentation and somebody, which I haven't talked to Bob Petroselli, but certainly Bob knows.
Someone named Bob.
Neither did I.
Bob knows the industry, has done an excellent job. And I would think, I would like to see us think about this, but I think maybe the presentation and then somebody coming after the fact saying, in case you missed the points, then we'd come out with the points that person would cover. And between Bob, myself, and all of us, we could think of whether it's Bob or not, but somebody that knows the industry, that is a powerful speaker and clear in their deliberation, I think is well worthwhile thinking. I really do.
I've sort of, some of the opponents of the previous, of the last year's proposal, I've got the feel that they think this is just more of the same, or they're implying that. And I feel we do need to change our approach in somewhat to make sure, make it clear that it's not more of the same. And my thought, based on what I've heard, is that Maureen and Mary do the presentation on, you know, what we need to do, and then somebody else, and I'm breathing a sigh of relief that I don't have building experience, but give a presentation on the process and, you know, what needs to be done, and why we're doing it this, you know, why we want to do it this way. So two short 5-minute chunks or something like that.
I don't, you know, again, I'll be glad to help out. At last March's meeting, I got up at the podium and gave like a 2 or 3 minute summary of it. But there was no friendly fire. There was no questions coming back from the group. I'd be happy to give some type of a explanation from a public construction point of view. I'm not sure how comfortable I am if there starts questions being shot from the audience or from the folks about details of some of that project. I mean, I could explain it in a 30,000 foot point of view, or get up and then with Mary or Maureen, and we could kind of figure it out, or with Bill or whatever. But I mean, I'd be glad to do whatever needs to be done to help out. I just wouldn't want to be up at the podium trying to answer the question. Like last night, I could answer if I thought about it for a while and wrote down some answers, but that rapid fire questioning, and that you guys did a great job answering, I don't want to, you know, get in trouble by stuttering and all of a sudden looking over at you folks saying, well, what do I say now? I don't mind doing a presentation, but as far as answering some of those rapid fire questions, I would need support.
Well,
We would totally do that,
Yeah.
Bob. We wouldn't like expect you to do that.
I
and I
wonder
think,
if you could go through the slide deck. I mean, much like Mary and Maureen were alternating last night, there might be some way to,
Yeah.
I like the idea more of Bob getting involved slightly in the beginning part, not just coming in as, from the bullpen.
Mhm.
And that certainly maybe the slides that are more descriptive of the, this is what the architect will do kind of slides could go to Bob, and you guys can be talking about how it affects the library in some of those slides or something. That might work very well.
At last year's March meeting, I was totally comfortable giving the presentation and getting up. I don't have any problem with that. It's just, I don't want to mess up some of there's pointed questions from, I don't want to endanger the presentation by giving false information after the fact. But if we can get up there together, whatever, we can figure that out.
I'll say I'm happy to be up on the podium and talking whatever, but if the group feels that would be useful. Sean, Mary, do you have a comment, or is your hand just still up?
Nope.
Right, okay, Sean.
Sorry, two things now. So town meeting is the 25th, if I have it correct. I don't know if we meet again before then to sort of finalize this, like if people want to have conversations separate from this meeting. I appreciate that Maureen has put this thought out there for everyone. And if there is another meeting time, I did, and before I forgot, I did have one other separate question that I'd wanted to ask. So last night, the 30% of the project, right, triggers ADA compliance, right? Something to that effect. I was curious, the amount of money in this warrant article, does that go towards that 30%?
Is design considered and project management part of the number that's used? I don't know.
I don't
I
think
don't-
so.
I don't think that it does. Oh, sorry, this is
Okay.
Christina. As far
Okay.
as I know, that I think it's construction costs
Okay.
and not necessarily design and study fees.
That I just want to confirm, because I think the number's only like 700 something. So
That's correct.
this would
That's
get us almost
720.
halfway there.
Yeah.
Right there. So, it doesn't, that makes a lot of sense that it's actual just construction cost. Thank you.
And Brian
Thank
was
you.
shaking his head no.
No,
Yeah, I was just in
does
agreement
not.
with what the consensus was of the team, so.
Okay, cool. Want to confirm. Thank you. But yeah, I think originally what I was saying, do we, take this as a takeaway? Do we want to get together the two, and maybe I'm jumping to the next agenda item, which is when's our next meeting? But, I don't know if we want to take this away and finalize that at our potentially next pre-town meeting.
We probably should have a pre-town meeting because our
Mhm.
next regular March meeting would be March 28th, which hopefully is after town meeting, unless town meeting is still continuing at that point. So
Should we get
yes.
together? Should we get together, informally at your office just to go through the slides and go through the talking points and everything like that?
I think that would be great. So
Sure.
we can talk offline about maybe getting together next week sometime and working that piece into it.
Okay.
Bill?
I'm just wondering, everybody that I've talked to, and I'm sure most of you people the same thing, we have a strong construction team here. The fact that two people have had construction experience, the fact we have somebody from the AFC, from the town manager, certainly Al brings a lot to the table with experience from other buildings that we've done here in town. I mean, on and on, but if there is a slide, again, a backup slide that just bullets, you can say names or without names, but show the experience. of what this committee has, I think is important to people. That's what, when I talk to people, you bring out, forget the names, but just bring out the categories. You're fortunate to have that kind of a team. I mean, and what Pete brings to us from the sustainable energy, looking at it, he has already answered some questions for us, and Boudelaire is asking for more to sustain. We have a strong committee, and I think it, again, a backup slide isn't part of the presentation.
Actually, you could put a list of committee members, like it's the second slide.
Yeah.
And you don't have to spend any time on it, but it's up there and people can see it, see the members and their qualifications. Or, you know, trustees on one column and the committee member, the building committee on another column or something.
Could potentially also include it in the press release information.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments?
So are we meeting the 14th or the 21st?
The 21st is the public forum at the library at
Okay.
7 o'clock. Would it make sense to wait and have it after that so that we can discuss whatever input we might get at that public forum? I think it probably would.
Sounds good.
Which puts it either on Wednesday or I think Wednesday or Thursday night on that week. So that would be the 22nd or the 23rd. Are the trustees meeting on the 22nd?
Yes.
So that means, or I could be,
I mean,
Would
if
the-
we meet at 3:30, it's fine. We just would have back-to-back meetings like Sean and I have today.
okay. Would that work for people? Either Wednesday afternoon at 3:30 or Thursday afternoon at 3:30, the 22nd and 23rd of March.
Either is fine.
Maureen, do you have a preference?
Either one is fine in my calendar too.
Why don't we do the 22nd? That'll give us a little more time to react to whatever we need to, and the results of the public forum will be fresh in everybody's brain. Do we need to meet between now and then? I'm not seeing anyone say yes, so I think we're okay. All right. Any other business for the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second?
Okay. Al?
Gordon, yes.
Pete?
Yes. Gundeck,
Bill?
yes.
Lenane, yes.
Walter?
Leslie, yes.
Mary?
Johnson, yes.
Bob?
Petroselli, yes.
Maureen?
Amy, yes.
Sean?
Geo, yes?
Walter, did I get you this time?
Yes, you did.
Oh, amazing. Okay. Ed Baldwin, yes. And did I miss anyone else? Okay. We're adjourned then. Thank you all.
Maureen, do you have my cell?
I'm not sure. Hold on.